Good afternoon. Today's date is February the 21st, 1994. I'm Blake Hailey, and we're pleased to have Mr. Milton Schultz with us today. We're going to do these videos in the Biomedical Communication Center at the University of North Texas Health Science Center here in Fort Worth, in the Gibson D. Lewis Library. After saying that big mouthful, Mr. Schultz, we're glad you could take some time out of your busy schedule to meet with us today. I'd like, if you would, to first give for the tape your title. You could probably do a far better job with your title than I could ever do, as far as what your position here is at the school.
I'm the director of the Construction and Renovation Office.
I'd like, if we could, go back to some prior background long before you ever thought about coming to TCOM, if we could, and have you kind of reminisce about some things.
Okay. Well, I graduated from high school in 1935 in Columbus, Texas. At that time, I went to work for a highway contractor down in Harlingen, Texas. I worked for them on the International Coastal Levee. I worked 3 years, and I got tired of working and driving a D8. It was awful hard work, so I decided I better look for a better job. So I had to save a little money, and I started at Texas Lutheran College in Seguin, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Main reason for going there, I was a Lutheran, and I figured I could make the football team.
And did you?
Yes, I did. So I went there 2 years, and the third year I went to University of Texas at Austin. And just before the end of the third year, I run out of money. So I had to borrow $80 to finish.
Oh, my.
So then I went back to work with this contractor at Mission, Texas. At that time, I was in 41.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, it looked like we was going to get into a war. So I was working 7 days a week, 10 hours a day. And I was watching my draft number, and it was just about to come up. So I went to my foreman and says, next week is my last week. So he said, oh, you can't leave me. I said, yes, I can. The Army wants me.
Don't have much choice, huh?
Yeah, so I stayed there that other week, and then I would come up to San Antonio and volunteered. That was 4 days before Christmas in 41.
41. And
it was about 5 of us went through taking our physicals. And we all passed naturally because they wanted us to go. So I got to think about it. Here's 3 days before Christmas. So there was a captain. I said, Captain, how about waiting to come back after Christmas? He said, fine. So he's come back December 29th. So I went back December 29th. They sent me out to Lackland for my basic training. And I was in the Air Force, and I wanted to be a pilot. So after my basic training, they sent me to Edith, Oklahoma, Cimarron Field, right out of Oklahoma City.
Mm-hmm.
And I got 13 hours and 42 minutes before I washed out. And I was kind of glad I washed out. I seen too many pilots deteriorate. So then they recommended me to go to a communication armament school to get my commission. So I said, well, I'll take armament. And the other class was coming in, and the army school hadn't opened up. So they gave me a month's vacation to go home. At the end of that, they called me, and I went up to Lowry Field, Denver, Colorado, and got my commission in the Air Force.
Mm-hmm.
And I got the commission in July of 42. Yeah, that's right. And then we laid around there a month, and they shipped us out to San Francisco. And we were supposed to arrive there on August the 23rd.
Mm-hmm.
That was the day the boat was going out, but we didn't get to make it. So we stayed in San Francisco till September the 1st. And we had a great time.
Oh, I bet.
And then shipped out on September the 1st and went down to Australia. And that was a 14-day trip on one of these Victory ships.
Mm-hmm.
and arrived there, and they put us out in a racehorse, boarded up racehorse track, and they told us not to leave. You know that. Us just being on a boat 14 days, we wasn't going to stand there. So we found a plank in the fence that was broken. We all went to Brisbane. It was Brisbane, Australia, where it landed. Okay, then they sent us up. From there, we rode a train to Townsville, Australia. That's where the 80th Fighter Group, which I was a member of. And riding that train up there was slow. I don't know how many days it took it, 2 or 3 days to go a little way. And nothing to eat. So they had these meat pot pies along the road, and we'd run it. We'd see where it was, so we'd run off. We could run faster than the train and get us meat pot pie and get back on a train. So we arrived up there, and I was assigned to the 80th Fighter Squadron, 8th Fighter Group, as armored officer. And from there, we just hopped all of the islands in the Pacific. And I got back to States in 1945. Been 3 years, 11 months, a few days overseas. And we landed in Seattle, Washington, and I headed out to Columbus, Texas. And they gave me 6 months off, and then I was signed to Kelly Air Force Base in San Antonio to count who was in all of the 4,000 buildings that was on Kelly. That was the job.
I bet.
So I did get to finish that, and they sent me to Little Rock, Arkansas Air Force Base to close out that base. And 839 Specialized Depot was there. So I closed that out, and they sent me back to Kelly to give me my discharge. And I asked them, let me stay in. And they were advertising some permanent first lieutenants. So I went before these 5 colonels, you know, and I must have not saluted them right, so I didn't get it. So then I went down to Columbus, and I built 3 homes in a year and a half, and the wife helped me and my sister helped me. Then I rented them out and got enough money to go back to school.
Back to UT?
UT. And I started there in, I graduated in 50, and I spent 3 years, 47. Started September, and got my degree in mechanical engineers in 1950. And at that time, engineering jobs were still hard to get. So I went
Even then, huh?
Yeah, in 50. So I went back to work for this same contractor, and I worked for him maybe a year and a half until the Corps of Engineers had jobs in Galveston. So I went down there and got a job with them. And with the Corps, I went to Austin, to Bertram Air Force Field, then up to Fort Worth. And I spent the rest of my years with the Corps here in Fort Worth, traveling 5 states, troubleshooting in mechanical and electrical. And so I got my 32 years in with them and decided I need to look for another job so I can draw that retirement.
Right.
So Mr. Denny, which worked for the Corps of Engineers, he was working here for TCOM, and he was my supervisor for 2 or 3 years.
Oh, okay.
So I called him. He says, yeah, I can use you. So I retired on Friday, October 21st, and come to work Monday the 23rd, October 1977. Been working here ever since.
That's an impressive career. What were your first assignment, or what was your first assignment when you came to TCOM back in 77?
Doing about the same, well, more or less seeing that the contractor performed his contract in building Med-Ed 1, 2, and 3. I was working under Mr. Denny in 1, and in Med-Ed 2, Mr. Denny went to North Texas, but he would come up every Friday, and I had the rest of the week here. And then Med-Ed 3, I had that all by myself.
Oh, so you kind of worked your way up then from 1 through 3.
Right.
What were some of the problems that you encountered in the construction of, for example, started with Mid-Ed 1? Did you have any major problems you had to work with at that time, or was it pretty smooth sailing for you?
Well, see, I had been in construction with the Corps. I knew about, and we had a pretty good contractor, Mid-Ed 1 and 2 both. And things were pretty smooth. Sure, you always got problems,
Right.
you know. So, but nothing we couldn't solve very easily.
Now, let's see, Fisher and Spillman, was that the...
Yeah, Fish and Spillman at that time. They're now called F&S Partners.
And that's who helped design all, or helped with all 3 buildings?
Right.
So you kind of worked with them all along.
Right.
What types of plans do you have for the TCOM as far, which is now the Health Science Center in the future? Do you plan to add on to what you have existing, or new buildings planned?
Yes,
What's the
we got
status?
new buildings planned. We hope to put 2 more floors on Mid-Ed 2 and maybe extend the Barbarian, maybe buy some more land. And, yeah, we got planned.
Adding 2 floors to Med-Ed 2, that seems like it'd be kind of difficult at points, wouldn't
No.
it? It's not?
No, see, we designed it to take 2 more floors.
Uh-huh. How much did each building cost roughly to build? I've always been kind of curious about that.
Well, let's see. Mid-Ed 1 was about 12 million, and Mid-Ed 2 about 11, Mid-Ed 3 about 10.
Were you involved in any way in helping with getting the funds together for any of that?
No, really not. I wasn't.
What type of, you say there's some projects coming up as far as adding on, would this be for the other schools that the Health Science Center wants to add as far as housing more faculty and so forth, or?
Well, we want to build 2 floors of Mid-Ed 2 for more research space.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe add on to Seminary South, a new clinic that we just required.
Oh, okay. And then do some more renovation here on campus.
Oh,
then.
yeah. Plenty of it. Every day.
I take it then your job never stops, it sounds like. You always have something that you're working on.
That's right.
What do you think, is the immediate plan then to add the 2 floors to Med-Ed 2? Or is that your immediate plan, or do you have
Yeah.
some other?
No, that's a immediate plan. And we ought to be able to find out in the next 3 months if we're going to go.
That's coming up pretty quick then.
Right.
Now, that'll probably keep you busy.
Right.
You do a lot of work, I've noticed too, with the Americans with Disabilities Act. I kind of noticed in some things I've read on you. How does that affect the building and the contracting and so forth? What types of things do you have to encounter there that you didn't have 2 years ago?
Well, see, back in '78, they didn't have all this strenuous ADA regulations. Now we're changing our thresholds, toilet paper holders we're lowering, new threshold doors and closures. Closure just can be 8 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
We're making these automatic doors. We put in Med-Ed 1 over there in the north end, you know, so handicap just go in that door, open itself.
Mm-hmm.
And ramps, we did a ramp out here. You see this concrete, bringing the ramps up to levels to the threshold.
Mm-hmm.
And we just got in some handicap tables for each one of the classrooms.
Interesting.
And yeah.
Did you have to do a lot of work with, as far as contractors go and that type of thing, as far as any rules or laws that apply to that part of it? Did you have to watch now that you didn't have 2 years ago?
Yeah, you got to watch them. Ever since I went to work for construction, you got to watch the contractor.
So you have to kind of keep an eye on all that kind of thing, it sounds like. What other things do you would you like to see done here for the Health Science Center as far as building and maintaining and so forth? Do you have any...
Well, yes, but I'd rather not state that. Oh, we need to buy some more land,
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, do some more construction.
Is there a, so there isn't, is there a current plan then that that you have? I mean, as far as you're following, or are y'all using the plan that you developed years ago as far as developing?
No, we're not following that plan. We need to bring our thing up to date. We need a new, what do you call it, Craig? Master plan. We need to bring a master plan up. Right now, we're way behind in master plan.
Do you think that will happen in the near future? Yeah. Are there some things you'd like to bring up, Mr. Schultz, that we've kind of touched on a few things here? There's some things you'd like to bring up as far as what's going on in your business?
No, just plenty of work.
There's plenty of work. Well, we do appreciate you taking time to meet with us, and I know you have a very busy schedule and you've done a lot for the Health Science Center, and I know you'll continue to do that for as long as you can. You don't have plans of retiring, I don't think, anytime soon, right?
No, I'm just waiting for them to run me off.
Well, I have a feeling you may be here a long time if that's the case. Ms. Schultz, we do appreciate it. Thank you very much for your time today.
I enjoyed it.